Have you ever wondered how a tiny, barely there rumor somehow transforms into a massive global movement? Well, today we're going to trace that exact journey. So let's kick things off with a pretty wild question. What actually unites Cold War military panic with modern internet jokes about our feathered friends? I mean, on the surface, these topics seem totally unrelated, right? But as we analyze the source material today, you're going to see this shared underlying anatomy behind how all these narratives manage to completely hijack the human imagination. Think about it. These narratives, they rarely just appear out of thin air. They almost always evolve from a tiny grain of truth, or maybe a collective anxiety, eventually snowballing into these incredibly complex alternate realities. When there's an information void or a highly secretive environment, human nature just naturally rushes in to fill those gaps. We end up building these elaborate stories to explain the things we don't fully understand. Okay, moving to part one, the grand government cover-ups. Basically, what happens when distrust of authorities breeds alternate realities. To see how this distrust really builds, think about the timeline of Area 51 out in the Nevada desert. It's the perfect example of how secretive Cold War operations sort of morphed into this mainstream alien phenomenon. Back in the 1950s, witnesses were reporting strange objects moving at unusual speeds. Fast forward to the 80s and 90s, and you've got the media and the early internet amplifying dramatic claims from self-proclaimed witnesses about underground alien labs. And the intrigue literally never stops. Take the May 2026 Pursue initiative. The government released over 160 classified documents in unseen Apollo archives. It completely reignited global curiosity, even though it didn't actually confirm extraterrestrial life. This right here starkly illustrates the divide between myth and reality. The popular narrative is all about traumatic alien autopsies and crashed spacecraft, right? But the official, classified record notes the base was simply testing highly classified experimental military aircraft. Because that technology was completely unknown to the public during a very tense geopolitical era, those totally ordinary test flights looked like something straight out of a sci-fi movie. We see a really similar pattern with the 1969 Apollo 11 moon landing. Skeptics pointed to little details, a seemingly moving flag, unusual shadows, the lack of visible stars in the photos, to claim the whole thing was filmed in a studio just to win the space race. However, the impartial, verifiable proof confirms the real landing through thousands of scientists, real-time monitoring from independent global tracking stations, internationally studied moon rocks, and, modern satellite imagery that literally still confirms the landing sites today. Now, what's truly fascinating about the modern flat Earth movement is how it managed to revive a centuries-old idea in the middle of the digital age. Despite continuous satellite imagery and centuries of established physics proving a spherical globe, this movement gained massive traction in the 2010s. Believers used online forums to share personal experiments and question official space photographs as part of this grand global deception. They essentially created a parallel scientific universe where mainstream gravity is just misunderstood, and the Earth is a flat plane surrounded by towering walls of ice. So let's look at part two, society's secret shadow rulers. This is where we escalate the stakes to secret societies and interdimensional beings. The Illuminati is arguably one of the most famous theories in the world. The modern myth paints them as this all-seeing, massive secret organization, pulling the strings on global crises and controlling celebrities from the shadows. But grounded history gives us a way simpler reality. Back in 1776, a professor named Adam Weishaupt founded the Bavarian Illuminati. It absolutely wasn't a shadow government. It was just a small German intellectual club that promoted reason and opposed excessive political influence, right up until it was banned by the Bavarian government. But, as you can guess, the human imagination didn't stop at 18th century intellectual clubs. The stakes escalated dramatically in the 1990s when writer David Icke promoted the reptilian theory. This is the genuine belief that powerful, interdimensional, reptile-like beings are secretly disguised as our politicians and influential figures, just controlling humanity through fear. This is such a fascinating collision of old and new. Believers essentially wove together ancient religious serpent myths with the rise of digital media. Throughout the 2000s, people were scouring internet videos for any sign whatsoever of a public figure acting strangely. Suddenly, ordinary visual glitches, normal camera artifacts, or slightly distorted facial movements weren't just considered bad tech anymore. They were framed as undeniable evidence of reptilian shapeshifting. All right, part 3, modern internet satire myths. This marks a major tonal shift where conspiracies are actually intentionally manufactured strictly as jokes. Take the Finland doesn't exist movement. Despite Finland having a fully documented history, its own government, and internationally recognized borders, a single Reddit post in 2015 set off a huge online movement. A user who went by Raregorn claimed his family taught him Finland was completely fake. He said the landmass was entirely fabricated for economic purposes and that it's actually just an empty expanse of the Baltic Sea. And honestly, the sheer absurdity of the lore here is amazing. To make the joke work, they built out an entire fictional geopolitical ecosystem. Step 1, claim the area is just open sea used for hidden fishing. Step 2, invent a secret agreement between Japan and Russia. Step 3, secretly transport the caught fish on the Trans-Siberian Railway. I mean, they even claimed the word fin literally referred to a fish's fin. It perfectly highlights how fast the line blurs between a genuine belief and an elaborate, collaborative forum joke. Which brings us to perhaps the ultimate modern parody: birds aren't real. Gaining immense traction in the late 2010s thanks to Peter McKindow, this movement took the very real, very modern paranoia surrounding government surveillance and applied it to everyday wildlife. The core claim: every single bird in the sky has been replaced with a robotic recording replica. The crucial point here is how intricate and clever the lore became just to justify the theory. They had an answer for literally everything. Why do birds sit on power lines? Well, to recharge their drone batteries, obviously. Why do they migrate south for the winter? It's just a cover for routine hardware maintenance and replacement. And it was delivered with such a straight face that a lot of people genuinely couldn't tell if it was serious or not. But eventually, the curtain was pulled back. In a 2021 New York Times interview, Peter McKindow admitted the entire massive movement was 100% satirical. It was engineered specifically to be a mirror held up to the internet, intentionally designed to mock how easily unverified, bizarre claims can spread completely unchecked in the digital age. Finally, let's wrap up with part 4, decoding the conspiracy phenomenon, exploring what our belief in the bizarre actually says about us. So as you navigate the internet today, constantly bombarded with a million pieces of information, I want to leave you with this final thought. When the line between a deliberate, completely fabricated joke and a supposed global conspiracy becomes this incredibly blurry, how do we protect our own grasp on reality? Keep questioning what you see, and thanks for joining me on this explainer.